Welcome everybody to episode 41 of the Gecko Pod. We are back. We took a few weeks break, maybe like a month or so, huh, AJ?
Yeah, people are mad at us, but we're back.
Went to Anaheim, went to North Carolina, and then now we're back.
I went to Daytona.
Now we're back with the big one. We have Anthony Caponetto from AC Reptiles. Thank you for joining us. We're excited.
Yeah, thanks for
Anthony. Yeah, I'm Harry from Zero's Geckos, AJD Reptiles. We are a podcast for the gecko community where we talk about the hobby and the business of breeding geckos. And so we have one of the OG of OGs, right? Anthony, you're even before AJ. AJ's been here a long time, but Anthony, you have the beginning people that brought in, I don't know, did you bring in geckos from?
No, I had one.
Not really.
Pretty close.
I got them from the guy that was bringing them in, though.
Yeah. Rapashi and Philippe.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was, and yeah, really back in the day, it was them all the way for structure. If you wanted pinstripe, that was pretty much where you went.
What year was that you stepped into the gecko hobby?
It was after, what was that? The 2002 annual, I think, when Alan wrote there was a pretty big article. I don't know if you guys have seen it floating around it. But it was around then I was doing websites on the side and breeding snakes. And a buddy of mine had crested geckos and needed a website, so I traded him for some. So that was like, I think early 2003, maybe late 2002, when that article came out. Yeah. And then, I think it might have been Daytona or maybe Philly that year. The Philly NARBC, they only did it like 2 years. But I think my first one from Alan was at that Philly show, and he wasn't even there. Somebody was selling them for him. But anyway, that was when the blocky head, the blocky body, the pinstripe, I'm like, oh, these are different. And so that was what got me. I think I might have bought more from him, but the next show I was at, and finally I just got a hold of Alan and started buying the numbers from him. And yeah, and I mean that, and like, do you remember? You guys know Kevin Dunn?
Yes,
I think AJ.
Okay, I do. Yeah, the red stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was nothing like that. I mean, even like my best, brightest pink stuff right now is still, I don't think would be any brighter than some of Kevin's best 15, 20 years.
All the way back then. That's great.
But his just didn't have that blocky structure that Alan, and it's because he started that colony as Alan was still bringing stuff in. I believe he got them from him. I think he said they were like 4,000 a pair for just regular geckos.
Wow. Yeah, I remember seeing lists like that, $3, $4, $5 a pair. And paper lists back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it was really taking like the reds from him. Alan had some pretty good reds too, but kind of getting that color and that structure together. I got a few things from John Mack too. Not enough. I didn't end up with cappuccino in my stuff.
It's all right, man. You produced a lot more other Morphs than nobody else has.
You might have dodged a bullet on that one a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, so the lay of the land was just kind of
not all the bullets.
not all the bullets. Lay of the land, you had Rapashi, you had Philippe, and then you're buying animals from Alan, and that's how you started your collection.
Oh yeah,
yeah. What's your original group that you bought, or were you just constantly buying from him?
I got the first ones were like my Dalmatians are not related to his. Those are actually from a buddy of mine, Gary Cork, and then Jay Summers is who he got them from. I believe he's big into axolotls now, but I believe Jay got those animals from like Yuri Kaburkin and somebody else in Germany. Yuri was at Moscow Zoo. He had I think he had space that he rented, or I don't know how that worked. But anyway, so those Dalmatians and all that stuff, they came from that source. And then Got stuff from John Mack and Kevin that first year, and then the next year, I think it was '04 when I finally really started getting some stuff from Alan, and then that's when I figured out, like, between the pinstriping and these heads and everything else, it was like that was really what I wanted mine to look like.
Yeah.
And then I got Harry just randomly from. You guys remember Reptile Depot?
Yes, I do.
AJ would. I don't.
So Harry was on their website, and
That's crazy.
yeah, he was freaky looking. So I went ahead and got him. And I'm like, yeah, that's probably going to be long term, but I'd never seen another one like him at the time, and I was like, man, I got to do it. So I bought him. And just actually plugged him into the soft scale female from Alan, and thought I'd have 2 Daker projects in one. And
so did you identify soft scale that early?
Oh yeah, immediately. Like the day I got him out of the box.
Wow.
Yeah.
But you didn't like advertise soft scale as a gene for a long time after that.
No, you can go, like, if you go to my 2008 website, it's still online. We could actually put the link in the comments or something. But
What is it? Let me.
Oh, that would be good. You should pull it up.
I got to give you the link because it's bold. Like, I got it to where it's harder to find. But
Okay.
That was a great website. I was on it a lot back in the day.
Yeah, send it to me later.
So-
I'll link it in the description.
yeah, Harry was on there, and you can see some first generation soft scales out of him, and that female. With a female was not shown, not mentioned, because I mean, you know how it is. You will look at it. 10 years later, they still said it was BS after I was making supers. So, like, I knew better.
Yeah.
Than to try and do that, but it became like a known quantity in the facility. Like, everybody that worked for me would talk about them, bring them to me. Look at this one. You know, I mean, the tops of their heads on some of them, patchy and weird looking. Obviously something. But yeah, it was, I mean, I noticed it right away. I didn't know that it was a gene. I just knew, like, structurally after looking at Harry and stuff like that, I thought there could probably be other stuff that we don't know about. If you look at, like, pythons, I mean, that happened, you know, with the scaleless, where they have the kind of messy looking scales on the top of the head, and then, yeah, that's the head.
Have you seen, so over the years, stacking soft scale, so like supers to supers over time, have you gotten like even more extreme expression, or do you feel like it kind of like, you know, like does it top out, or does it continue to compound?
No, I haven't really. I mean, no, and that's the thing. Like, I was curious because those very first ones I showed off really, actually just sold one out of that line to like 2 or 3 generations later. But 10 years ago, the first ones I was selling, yes, smooth. Here go. This is exactly the geckos I was talking about. Those.
Yeah, right.
Those two. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, where they get that like head distortion where they're almost like
yeah,
on their head.
Yeah, well, and if you look at them, they just look at the one beneath them now. Look at the head, the difference in the head.
So
yeah.
So the soft scale improves the head structure?
No. What I was saying is, like, those first ones, they look softer to me than like the one beneath, but the one beneath has that hairy line structure in there. It's a blockier gecko. But harder to tell, really. But anyway, those first ones, that made me wonder, like, is this, like, I was joking when I said a minute ago, when you said if you stack super and super together, I said a super duper. But that's actually like a phenomenon in ball pythons, even though we know you can inherit 2 copies of a gene and no more. You get one from mom and dad, that's it. We know that. But when you breed super pastels to each other, like in ball pythons, because everybody wants to breed super pastels together. But there was that phenomenon. People actually did call them super dupers, and they were a little funkier or whatever. I don't know how much of that's really selective breeding.
Yeah, that's what I would chalk it up to, probably.
Or, yeah, I mean, to me, it wasn't even really worth looking into that much. But no, I kind of wondered that with these, because tangerine was definitely like tangerine and leopard gecko. I mean, it's probably the same thing. And definitely not one-off type of gene.
Yeah.
That male at the bottom looks like Harry, only super soft.
Yeah, it's interesting. Back in the day, I remember when I first saw Harry, the thing that was interesting to me was how, even compared to the geckos now, that animal's crests are thinner but longer.
Yeah, shaggy.
Yeah, like shaggy, but they're not like the scale or the pinstripe scale is not thick.
No, it's
thin but long.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. You don't really see a lot of that out there today.
No, I mean, it's been difficult. Like, we'll look at that. Well, there's one. You just scrolled to one. The one coming down, come down a little further down the page. No, other way.
Oh, down this way.
That gecko.
Yeah.
That was hatched in 2005. Harry by the original soft scale. That's exactly what that is. That gecko, I still have that gecko. But it's
2005, you still alive. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. But you can see the dash pinning, which came from the mom, and then she's got a little bit of that hair. If you look at her neck and where she's got pinstripe. But yeah, you can also think you can tell she's a soft scale too. But yeah, I mean, look at that first generation. She's still, you can see it, but it's not like.
Yeah.
You
can see it though.
It's weird though. They do, as they get a little bit older, like a year and a half, that tends to really fill out more. It doesn't, I mean, not that it gets thicker, but it seems like they grow even longer up until then. It's like they have to be fully done growing for that to develop all the way. Yeah, I had all this stuff on this page. I would have just told you to go.
Yeah. Have you seen, this is totally off topic. We'll kind of pivot here for a second, but have you seen some of the others like scale genes people have been talking about? Like Zengex talks about boba scale, which is like a really round scale that's kind of pitted in the center that's large.
I dare. Where was the round scale? Where were they at? On the dorsal?
Yeah, so basically imagine the pinstripe scales are larger and rounder, and then almost like a tooth where it's got like kind of like a pit in the center. The scale, imagine it's like large and round, and then it's kind of like divoted.
Yeah, we started calling these ones. I started labeling the cages with the word cluster. Because I didn't know what else to call it. But they would get the pinstripe scales down by the tail get really enlarged to where they were bunched up together and like, okay.
Or they'd like bunch up by the necks and
yeah, they would bunch up, but it was really heavy down by the tail. Yeah, I've seen this picture before actually.
Yeah, he's got a bunch of these.
Now, yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, I just didn't know if you, just like the, I guess, multiplication of crests. Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
That looks like a soft scale. I mean, if I didn't know
very well, could be.
Yeah, I don't.
I didn't understand soft scale for a long time. Yeah. I was not really a believer.
No, I mean, I didn't even talk about it.
Yeah.
But I mean, because when you guys talk about soft scales, like just give us really basic, besides us reading your website, but what is soft scale for people that are new? We have a lot of new breeders that watch the podcast, and
it took me about 10 years to even like
figure it out,
even discuss it. They're softer. I think what we figured out is the scales are a little bit more rounded, spread out.
Yeah. So, but what does that look like when you look at a gecko? Like, how do I still can't look at a gecko and be like, oh, that's soft scale. I still don't know.
Oh, when you get into different colors and stuff, they can be really tough. I mean, it's more of a visual head for me.
Okay.
it's harder or it's easier for me on yellow animals and like dark animals.
Okay.
Those are the ones that are easier for me to identify.
Have a look about them. I mean, they're really the way I prefer to do it. If I'm serious about having soft scale in a project, I made sure I use supers. And just look at the offspring as hets, and you're gonna, when you breed those together, you may get some non-soft scales. You're gonna get some soft scales, and you're gonna get a few supers.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I debated on whether we can call it a incomplete dominant gene, just because it's so difficult. I mean, in a perfect world where we had something we could agree on as a normal-crested gecko, that I would find one and then breed the stuff to it, it'd be easier to figure that out. But it seems like, look at Lily. I mean, they all look like the same scale to me. So it's like, I don't know, some of these things, like these other genes, that boba that you were just talking about, I mean, they all kind of look like that. I don't know. I mean, but the super soft is a whole nother thing. I mean, you get the gray rim around the eye. The head looks patchy. I mean, you can almost see the scale separation on the head, the way they look. But yeah, I mean, in the color, for me, in the super softs, I think they look cleaner, and I'm not sure if that's if like the top layer of skin might be missing on these, and that's why, because I know as animals age, like carotenoids in their diet will build up in that top layer of skin. That's why these xanthic ball pythons are brown as they get older. So I don't know if it's that, but that color, look at, this top left. Yeah, she's related to those two we were talking about on my page. That color is just so much cleaner that it looks brighter. I think it's the lack of that muddy stuff that's usually, in the top layer of skin.
Okay.
I was talking with Harry, when I was out in Anaheim, I was talking with Anthony Vasquez about the soft scale stuff, and we were looking at microscope pictures of soft scales, super soft scales, and just kind of talking about what we had seen in our own collection. And it is interesting that the scales, so when you actually look at them with a microscope, there's large scales and small scales.
Yeah.
And in the super softs, the small scales are reduced and spread out quite a bit.
Okay.
So it's almost like, I mean, it's almost like a low expression form of like scaleless, where it's reducing scalation, but it's not eliminating it. But it's enough that you visually can see something is different.
Yeah, it almost, it's almost like if they were sanded down or something, and you knock off that top part of the scale, or I don't know.
So does it affect the coloration? Because you said it kind of like makes it so it's not as muddy looking.
Oh, I think so. I mean, this gecko, the one we're looking at, and then when you see it on like a good red, big difference. And then some of those oranges, I think I posted one on Insta maybe a couple weeks ago, super soft. She was sitting in my hand, real bright. But there's no way that gecko would look like that.
Okay.
Go. No.
Oh, that's a pixel.
Dan's. That one right there in the middle. Up. No.
Oh, sorry.
Well, her too, but oh yeah, it wasn't the one in my hands. That was the one in my hands. But no, if you go up a couple, there's also talking about her. But both of those would actually be an example. But like that, that gecko.
So kind of like a clean, the crest, the head is just kind of clean looking. There's not a lot of pattern on it.
I know. And look at her. And I'm hoping my reader's on to check that out. Look at those.
Yeah. Where there's like the primary scales are very clear, but then the secondary scales are reduced.
I see. It's like different sizing of the scale.
Yeah, just to me, it seemed like you can see more definition.
Yeah.
Harry, the thing that you need to do is you need to have a super soft scale at your house so that you can actually like see one on the day-to-day.
Yeah.
That was the tipping point for me, was I got some by accident.
Yeah.
And then I realized, oh, I now see it.
Oh,
And then once you see it, you can't unsee it, you know?
Exactly. That was like, I mean, I fought it for years. I've done this with a lot of genes, Pixel and other ones. Like, oh, this we're not marketing that. And then here we are. But but the soft scale, like I was sure, I'm like, nobody's gonna buy this. Like I'm gonna take more abuse for this than
It's worth.
yeah. It's not worth it. And then yeah, I mean it was like a cool thing at our shop after a while. It was like everybody talked about it. They were like, why don't you sell these? Like, does anybody else have them? I'm like, well, a lot of people have them now. They just don't know it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Anyway. But
A lot of people have empty backs too, head empty backs that they don't know, and they're all from you.
oh yeah. And that will.
So this is interesting because you have a super soft and you have a super empty back right here, all in one. And this thing looks amazing.
Oh, I thought those were phantoms at first, and then as they grew out and looking at them, I don't think this is a phantom. And then we started actually getting phantoms. Like some of these were het for phantom. And the crazy thing is that even the phantoms will hold the pitting up to the head, like better than they do
Without the empty back.
without the empty back. And I don't know what. Yeah, there's something to that though, because they are like I've been popping out fully pinned, what looked like fully pinned red phantoms. I don't even think they're phantoms. I think they're just little ones of these because I think that's what I thought that's what she was too. So I'm like, they're kind of catching me by surprise. As they get older, the color separation, you can see it better. I can see it better. I don't
Like the head color and everything. You're like,
Yeah.
it's not a fan.
Yeah, and even on the dorsal, if you look at them, like on a good super empty, this one's tough. Okay, you can see a tiny little bit of that orange just on the inside, like you can see where I'm pointing.
Like right near the edge of the pen.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't get that phantom. That'll be muted. Same with sides too. The sides on that and be all muted.
I see.
Yeah, that one's kind of surprising.
All right, well, let's pivot. We'll get back to empty back.
We'll come back.
Sure.
Question for you. So now currently, where are you at as far as collection size? And I guess if you were going to guess.
Too many. Yeah, we've been cranking them out this year, and the pet stores all decided. I don't know what they decided. I think everybody decided to go on vacation. But breeders like 5,000, and then stuff I'm growing out 3,000, roughly. How many cages there are, like individual cages, and then God, baby inventory is probably 5,000. Yes.
How big is this
That's
facility?
hard. All the other numbers I can tell you. The babies. What's that?
That must be a massive facility. I don't even I can't even imagine how big of a facility this is.
You can put a lot of geckos.
But we have upstairs for the gargoyle. Yeah, it's. But a lot of that. I mean, a lot of that is babies. The ones that the 3,000 grow out, which is everything from hatchling to adult size. Those are all individually housed.
Wow.
Those, yeah, that's the worst of it. Like as far as
Space.
yeah.
Is that 6-quart? Or what size tub is that?
No, we did well. Yeah, gargoyles. They still do a 6-quart to grow them in, but the cresteds we do a sandwich box for 90 days, then from 91 to 6 months or so, maybe a little longer depending on the gecko. You put them in a B15, which is a vision tub.
The pencil skinny.
Yeah, it's not very tall, but it's tall enough, and they actually holds the humidity well. And again, when we were talking, like this is something to rear them in for, a year. Not backstage. We go to a B18. I think it's at once they hit like 20, 25 grams, we go to a B18, which is the lighter version of that.
Okay.
But those actually, they do really well. We had to drill holes in them if I were buying the vented ones that they offer now. But they do really well in those. I mean, they grow really fast. It was actually dramatic when I started growing them out like that. I was talking to an old school gecko breeder. I was like, how can I grow these out faster? He's like, set them all up individually and hammer them with bugs. And so we did that. It was like, it kind of made us run out of space a little bit ahead of schedule at the last place I was at. And so when it was kind of a problem. They grow a lot faster.
Yeah. Smaller space,
so
able to get the bugs.
Yeah, and I mean, if you want to slow them down for some reason, put a second gecko in with them. They hit huge
Fight
difference
for the food. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. So are you in that room? Do you take the approach of heat the whole room, not the racks, or do you heat the racks?
Whole room. No, I stay away from heating individual cages and racks just because of the size of the facility. We'd be replacing those heat cables constantly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, really the biggest problem is keeping it cool enough in there in the summer.
Yeah.
Because in the winter, like those mini splits, they're not going to do it all. We actually, the warehouse has its own gas powered radiant heat. It beams down from the ceiling in the middle, and it's like a pitched ceiling. So I don't know how it would work. I haven't even used it. We plug in space heaters, the oil-filled ones.
Yeah. The ones with like two knobs, and you just
least likely to catch fire.
Yeah.
You've got those around the shop, and they actually do a pretty good job of just keeping it kind of even. And of course, we've got massive airflow. We've got like an NFL size swamp cooler.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what's your target temps for the building? If you were like perfect world, what would you say are your temps?
68 at night, 68 at night, and probably like 75 during the day. Because you had to keep everything in one. If you can keep your babies separately, which is something I need to start doing. I haven't done yet, but I want to start doing that in the next facility, whatever we do. I would keep the babies at like 72 constant. You don't really, I mean, you could dip them if you're having trouble with humidity. You could dip them at night down to like high 60s or whatever, but really like 70 to 72 for babies. They'll grow plenty fast. It seems like with crested geckos, when you get them warm, they start burning calories too fast. Even if they can handle the temps, they just burn through the calories. I swear if you keep them too warm, you'll take hatchlings at 4 weeks, and in 4 weeks more, if they've been kept too warm, they'll actually...
Interesting.
Yeah, they'll go down in weight a little bit.
Interesting.
Okay.
So I would keep the babies a lot cooler. Adults, man, I mean, it depends on how heavy you're feeding and what you're feeding, but I mean, you can get them into the low 80s, I think, pretty safely without stuff out. What you don't, I don't know. I was going to say what you don't want is females dropping eggs every 2 or 3 weeks, which if you hammer them, if you hammer them with food and you get the temps right, they'll do it for a while. Until they don't.
And then they crash.
Right. You might not get eggs from her for 6 months, 9 months.
Yeah. That's interesting. So I was going to ask, as far as feeding now, where have you landed after all these years? Because obviously when you started, there wasn't a commercial diet.
Right.
And then there was Repashy, where you had to mix your parts of fruit and base. And then, you know, I remember that. And I'm like, I mean, I guess it makes sense.
Gecko mom.
Yeah. And then, you know, obviously Pangea comes along, and then Repashy does a reformulation, and then, you know, now there's BPZ, and there's all these different things. So where have you kind of settled as far as what you like and what you, I guess, would recommend to people to buy geckos from you?
I probably haven't tried enough, to be honest with you.
That's okay.
yeah, once we get onto something, like once you get that many thousand geckos breeding, whatever it is, breeding and feeding, I should say feeding, but yeah, man, like switching diet and having them potentially quit eating and quit laying.
You can't afford it.
No, I switched because I did switch from, I don't even remember which Pangea, which Repashy diet it was. I never used the 2-part. I complained when they started doing that. I was like,
I know. I'm like, go back to 1 part.
I don't want to sell that. Like, stop. I mean, from his perspective, that was, but anyway, no, I switched to Pangea probably a year or so after he came out with it. I was just having so much trouble getting stuff to eat Repashy at the time, and this is probably close to 10 years ago now. And that was back then. I would actually, like in the winter and stuff, I would go completely off insects and just not feed insects. I figured if I'm not getting eggs, like do insects, and that's things like that didn't make sense because then if you're not getting eggs, you need to feed insects if you want them to start laying anytime soon because they need it. But anyway, I switched to Pangea probably like 2014, 2015. It just seemed like it went away better. I don't know if it's because they like the flavor or I'm going to eat it better or what. It seemed like we have a bit better production, but that's really hard to pinpoint. But, you know.
Is there do you only feed one flavor or do you feed multiple flavors?
No, we do the fig and insect. Gargoyles prefer fig and insect for us. Yeah. And then what is it? Watermelon mango pink. That was what we've done. We've done the breeder formula that he had for a while. Like pretty much any of the Pangea ones that we put in there is going. Gargoyles ours didn't like the watermelon mango as much as they did an insect.
Yeah, I don't have good response on watermelon with gargs either.
Yeah, like sweeter stuff. They do. Even Alan said that back in the day. They didn't go for the sweet stuff as well.
Lychees go crazy for watermelon though.
The lychees, they like sweeter things. The lychees.
Yeah, I don't know why. That's like the #1 for lychees.
Yeah, your lychees growl at you when you.
Yeah. Yeah, if they're in the right spot, they'll growl at you and try to bite you.
I was hearing things. This was like 15 years ago, 20 years ago, whatever it was. But yeah, I had this big, what was the big dark one? What they call
like the Kogus dark morphs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a big old male, and you'd walk by his cage, and he sounded like a chihuahua, and it was like, I don't know where that's coming from. Where my base, like
yeah. They think they can rip your hands off, but they. I'll just say they act like they could kill you when you walk by.
Oh, he tried. Yeah, I reached in there to see if I could pick him off. He laid into me pretty good. But yeah, I guess territorial.
Yeah.
So fig and insect seems to be a pretty popular one for most, even like a lot of new breeders. I switched to fig and insect, and they've been cleaning all their bowls pretty well.
Yeah, we feed that to the crusteds too. We'll move that back there, but we don't do the other way. We don't go watermelon.
Yeah. How often do you have to swap out? How often do you do diet? Do you do it like twice a week, 3 times?
Yeah, we do diet twice a week, and then
crickets.
But on weeks when we're doing insects, I don't even bother with the diet anymore.
Okay.
We're eating. What we were ending up with more of was gnats than anything. Yeah, I was going to say insects, usually like if you hammer them the first time, they're going to be pretty stuck, especially if they haven't had insects for like a week. Because so basically we'll hit them with diet 1 week, 2 feedings, and then and these we put enough in there where everybody gets plenty and there's still food to throw away. And because if you don't, you have problems if you're only putting it in twice a week. But anyway, yeah, when we do insects all week. So if it's crickets, and we want crickets in there, and then we pull them back through and pop them off. If they've eaten them all, we give them.
Okay.
But if we're like the other option, if we can't get enough crickets, which is often can be an issue, like especially off season, like in the winter. That, like some years we've had trouble because they're selling more for fishing. Just in general comes to enough crickets. So I figured out I will feed mealworms, and they hate it.
Yeah.
Have you guys tried it?
I've tried. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Hopefully,
yeah. Do you see adults eating mealworms out of bowls as well?
Oh yeah.
The small mealworm or the large?
Don't buy those. Don't buy the giants.
Yeah. Okay.
I can't like come out and say definitively 100%.
Yeah.
This is what caused it. But we had basically, I was having trouble getting anything, and I couldn't even get large mealworms. I can only get medium, and that's going to cost you a fortune. So I was like, well, I'll get these giant ones. So I started looking into that. I'm like, oh, it's an insect growth, not growth inhibitor. It's a what was it? It was something to do with the way the insects, something to do, it interrupts the breeding cycle. It doesn't kill them, it just makes them where they're, we had massive fertility problems after 2 weeks, 2 feedings of that.
Wow.
So I hatched like, instead of 20,000 geckos, 1 year I hatched 8,000.
Wow. And that's from 4 feedings of those mealworms?
2 feedings.
That's what you think?
That's only...
No, I'm sorry, 4 feedings. Yeah,
2 weeks.
That's
two insect weeks.
It's only the giant.
Wow.
Yeah. And I don't know. I can't, I don't want to get sued by, they're not going to sue me.
Yeah.
By who? Gans?
No.
They don't watch this.
But, no, but they were the ones I couldn't get.
Oh, yeah. I get that too.
But, yeah, man, they hammer those mealworms, but yeah, the giants, that was a bad idea. And I've been talking about it to Jake, my partner on the Small Pine Mountains, because he's a pharmacist. I'm like, yeah, he'll know. And I talked to a couple other people, and it was like nobody thought it was going to be an issue. And it was like, okay, I'll try it. Bad news. That cost me a lot that year.
Yeah.
But I do like mealworms other than that. Like,
Okay, keep them small.
Okay.
Small mealworms.
yeah, so no, but like large mealworms, but don't get what they call giant.
Okay.
Giant mealworm is treated with that.
It's like a growth thing. Is it a hormone of some kind?
It's a hormone for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was supposed to only affect insects. Well, I have a feeling it did.
Not. Is that? Do you know if it affects other animals as well, like leopard geckos, things like that?
I don't know.
Okay, but credited it.
Well, a lot of people feed them.
Yeah.
But no.
Interesting. Very interesting. Cool.
But it was the only time I've tried those, and the only time I've had to throw away that many eggs. And I mean, it was dramatic. It was like within a week or two, we had like what should have been a 600 egg week. I think there were like 400 collapsed eggs. Like, and we don't see that. I mean, that was it. These ones dead when they were.
Yeah,
that's crazy. So when you're feeding insects, what percentage would you say is crickets versus mealworms now? Is it half and half?
About half. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I like mealworms. They're actually higher. They're higher protein.
Yeah.
Is it higher protein or higher? Yeah, I think it is higher protein than crickets, which it doesn't really matter what you're after. That's where it really lacks is the fat.
So historically, mealworms have always been kind of said to be a no-no for crested geckos, like on forums and everything. And people always say, and I never believe.
I'm telling people, your gecko's not going to chase a mealworm through the gate. Well, no, it's not.
In a bowl, it'll eat it. But I think that the narrative was,
hey, like that's when I didn't know enough about geckos to be saying
Yeah, I mean, back in the day, I feel like the narrative was that like the chitin or like their basically their shell was hard to digest, would shred their intestines, and I mean, me personally, I always thought about it. I'm like, you know, the gut content studies that they did. That, you know, there was a German scientist that did that gut content study, and it was all beetles. That, you know, it was beetles and pollen. I'm like, do you think a gecko is looking at a worm, like a mealworm or a beetle, and is like, yeah, that looks a little bit too much chitin. Yeah, I don't want to eat that. You know, I think they'll put anything down their throat that they can eat.
Was that they have the instinct to grab that stuff for a reason? But no, I mean, well, there's an enzyme in their stomachs called chitinase that dissolves them. So yeah, I mean, one thing you will see, and it freaks people out. It's kind of funny once you figure out what it is, and then it's not harmful. But the first time you feed them mealworms, they'll gorge themselves, and the first couple maybe, and so even bigger geckos that have been eating crickets their whole lives, if you give them their first feeding of mealworms, at first they're like not sure what to do with it, and then it turns into, oh God, fish in a barrel kind of scenario where they can hammer them, and they've never been able to do that. They've always had to chase stuff, so they'll gorge on them, and then you'll find these little mealworm football-looking things in the cage where they've yacked them all up once they kind of started to dissolve together.
Yeah.
So, oh yeah, one time I had Ben Siegel call me. We had back in the day we had leopard geckos too, and he bought like 100. He gets them, feeds them mealworms. They're all puking, and he's like, "These are sick." And I'm like, "No, they're not. There's no way they're sick. They all hatched here, and they've never actually seen another gecko. Like, they've been individually housed. They're born, so there's no way." And so I called Doug Barr, the cage guy. I'm like, "You know about these stupid leopard geckos?" I didn't like them. But I was like, "What's going on?" And he's like, "No, they just haven't eaten mealworms before. You're feeding them crickets, aren't you?" I was like, "Yeah." He said, "Nah, they do that, and then they'll figure out not to do it. They're fine." So I told Ben that. Sure enough,
a week later, they stopped doing it.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what I was like. Oh, okay. So it's
interesting.
It was me dealing with leopard geckos. That's the one good thing about me breeding leopard geckos. I figured out how to get gecko to eat meal consistent.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I didn't know that anybody did that commercially, like large scale. Because I definitely have. I've fed them, but I have not done it as like a staple.
No, I don't know if I'd want it to be a staple. If you think about it, you don't want a gecko hooked on the mealworms.
You know? Yeah, but for you, it's 25%, right?
What's that?
Mealworms, as far as percentage of their diet.
Right. They're not stuck on. And I mean, mostly it's my adults and grow-outs that are getting the mealworms.
Okay.
The little sandwich box I use, those 90-day geckos, they're not really. I mean, they might eat some insects. I know they will eat insects, some of them. But I know when I feed those geckos insects, you end up with more problems. Stuff getting harassed and won't eat. Crickets are really bad about that too.
Yeah, so it's mess with geckos.
Yeah, crawling on the geckos, and the geckos get to where they're like terrified of them. But yeah, I mean, as a staple for my breeders, I think I would use them. I don't know. I mean, the crickets, it just seems like a different food source, probably a good idea. The gut load a little bit better.
Yeah.
We load everything too with fresh produce. So like usually
Carrots.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mealworms love carrots too, so that's good.
What's that?
Mealworms love carrots too. So.
Dubious. It's crickets.
Everything likes carrots. Everybody likes carrots.
That's why we gut load everything, and they're nutritious instead of, a lot of people throw potatoes in mealworms, but I want them to be as nutritious as I can get them. And it helps.
Yeah. Do you have a pretty, since you have such a large collection, you have a pretty large team that workers and whatnot that manage?
Not really, man. Just like a handful. Yeah. Basically, one guy handles the 3,000 geckos I was talking about individually housed. One guy goes through, feeds those, checks on them, blah, blah, blah. Another team comes through, cleans. Team of two, but it's like one afternoon a week that they're in there doing that.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically it's one guy for those, and another guy handles everything adult. So eggs, feeding, I say handle eggs and feeding and checks on stuff, and then there's another guy that comes through, does the cleaning, part of the cleaning guy. So there's like, I think right now we got 5, 6. Wow. We have more in the summer usually.
Okay. Yeah, that's not big at all for how many geckos you get.
No, but we shouldn't have the other 5,000 babies. That should be.
Is your so are you doing paper towel for all this stuff, like paper products, paper towel, egg carton, or?
I do. I do newsprint.
Okay.
From Webster Out Store. You guys familiar?
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, I get the newsprint there, and then I just use a 15 by 20 inch sheet for everything. Like every single cage we have, that works. You have to do more sheets in a bigger cage where you fold the paper glass. But I mean, like our sandwich boxes, I think we just use one page because it's folded like multiple times.
Fold.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And then, but that's been slick, like not having, because we used to go looking for newspaper and trying to get people to give us newspaper. I caught one guy. One of my guys that was working for me kept bringing in these massive stacks of newspaper. I'm like, where are you getting these? Like, these are today's paper. Like, what are you doing?
He steals them.
He was doing what? Yeah, he was doing exactly what I thought he was doing.
He gives him a quarter.
That's called the reverse paper route right there.
Yeah. So yeah, he was doing that for a while. I'm like, all right, we got to buy it. We got to find somewhere to buy it.
Yeah.
And I was getting, what was I getting? It was craft paper, I think, for a while.
Okay. Maybe a new line.
Yes. Man, you remember that. I haven't bought anything there in a long time, actually.
I buy some stuff there still.
My egg flats.
Do you really?
Yeah, from Uline. Yeah, I learned that from AJ.
Are they? What's the pricing like? I've been having trouble.
You get is it 140 for 40?
Well, 100. Yeah, 104. I get 2 stacks, so 140 times 2, so 280. Shipped is like $100.
That's about, yeah. Mine shipped is like $60 for 140.
I know there's probably cheaper sources out there.
Yeah, I've been getting them from eggcartons.com for years. I just I have no idea what they charge. I know the quantity like that we buy a pallet, but it's like significantly less to get it that way. But now the pallet, I think it's like, I want to say 3,000 things on a pallet or 30.
Oh, geez.
But yeah, it's high humidity in there. They were misting babies, so they go moldy. We have to chuck them.
Yeah, that's my struggle for sure.
Yeah, I would like to find something better. I started using the vines that Matt had, Pangea. Started using those, and it was just taking me too long to pull a cage apart when I was trying to sort geckos, because I pull a whole cage apart when I sort. I don't sort things out and move them around, actually.
Like on the breeders or on like co-house stuff? Okay.
No, on the babies, the groups.
Okay.
But yeah, what was I saying? The
Pangea plants.
Oh yeah, I was using those. I was trying to use those because they're plastic. I thought the egg cartons probably sucking moisture out of the tail tips, especially. Yep. We added those. God, I bought cases with those things for Matt. I love them because They had the suction cups to hang them on the sides of the tubs. They actually worked really well for the geckos, but it was just I couldn't pull them apart quick, and then I kept breaking the. Because we'd have like 8 of them in a cage, and then I'd pull one out, and it would like latch onto the other one and pull part of it off. But those things are great because they break up that airflow going through your cage that's giving you some of those problems and drying your stuff out. I wish there was something like that we could do that was a little bit faster to deal with. But yeah, the egg cartons, I even bought the plastic ones to try them. I mean,
no go.
Oh gosh, how was that?
They work, but you got to wash them.
Can't just toss them. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, though, I mean, I'm spending like 30 cents a piece, I think, on the
Paper.
I think. So I don't know, maybe the plastic ones. We have a dish. I mean, we wash a lot of stuff in the dishwasher up there. But I don't have a commercial one. I would probably need that if I was going to do that with the egg cartons.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Washing 3,000.
Yeah.
Well, it makes me feel better that even you have not figured out a solution to the problems I have as well.
No, I mean, tails. That's like the biggest, the stuck shed on the tip of the tail. That's a lot I deal with.
So what's the ambient in your room? Is it like 50 or?
Humidity?
Yeah.
70. Like a humidor. Like 70.
I'm surprised you're having stuck shed then.
I know.
I got a mist.
Because my room's like 65 and I don't get the tail shed.
Anthony, do you have auto misters on stuff? On everything, even like the
no, I think the maintenance would be tough. I mean, we have a swap cooler that.
Okay. So you don't mist as much. You don't mist every single bin. You just keep the humidity high.
Yeah, we keep the humidity high. We actually have been misting like this summer with these 100-degree days.
Yeah, got it.
For sure. Yeah, because you got all that airflow, all those we got 5 mini splits in that building. Just blasting nonstop. We also, like when you have something that's close to one of the mini split heads where it's just getting blasted with air, we'll actually put a tarp around that whole.
I see. Yeah,
to break that up. So yeah, we do all stuff like that. But yeah, the misting, you got to be real careful with that too. If you go overboard, you'll get like clingy stuck sheds that are probably harder to get off than when they're too dry.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yep. Totally.
Yeah, those are tough. You guys ever had to use or tried that abrasive, what is that? Like Ultimate Orange is what it's called?
Yeah, like the sandpaper soap.
Like that, yeah. If you use that, run the Gecko. If you got a bad stuck shed, you can run the Gecko under cold water while you do this, because otherwise you're creating all this friction and hot hands. You're going to cook the Gecko. But put them under cold water and get that on your hands, and then just gently rub it for a while, not long. But rub that all over the Gecko, and then that skin will come right off.
Interesting.
But you need to dry. You have to dry the Gecko. So I'll like pat them with a paper towel, get them to dry off a little bit, and then you can start to see that skin. And you can get a hold of it, peel it back. It helps.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting. I've never heard that before.
Yeah. Anthony, going back to talking about genetics and morphs, because that's kind of the exciting stuff to chat about. You've created a lot of different morphs, right? At least from your collection. You've
identified at least.
You've identified.
Yeah, I do.
Soft scale, empty backs, pixels, phantoms. AJ mentioned you've identified phantoms within your collection pretty early on, right?
That was that was about the easiest one, I thought.
Okay,
patternless.
Yeah, 2 pinstripes. So get this thing that looks like a pinstripe, and somebody erased all the pattern off.
Yeah.
So were you around when I called them patternless pinstripes that week?
I started in 2005. So you tell me. I don't know.
Might have been. Yeah. I got crucified for that too, because they're not patterned.
Oh, they're not patternless. There's some pattern.
So, exactly. So I don't understand, if it's not patternless, why do you call it that?
You're like, okay, Phantom.
I don't know. I'm just being kidnapped like everybody else. Yeah. So, yeah, I call it Phantom, and they ate that up. They loved that.
Yeah, that's a good.
Nice.
It's still pretty popular. I mean, we have a lot of things that are popular.
That was like immediately tripped my radar. Like, this is totally recessive. I guarantee it's recessive. Blah, 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 blah. And then, yeah, I cracked them the rest of the year out of that group, and then tried the next year. I just did Phantom by fitting them just to prove it, just to make sure. And that's all you get.
Yeah, how long ago was this?
Oh, that was
Just curious. Early 2000s.
Do you remember the symposium in 06 at Tinley?
I was there. Yep.
Okay. So it was, I think I had done it there. Like, I think I had talked about them before that ship, if I recall.
Okay.
It wasn't long before, because I still have people asking me about it.
Yeah.
And I think people were still joking about the patternless pinstripe. The 7. So yeah, I think it was 05.
The symposium.
I remember the Gecko now. It was the first full pin I ever had. I bought it from Allen. Yeah, what was that? That was the same male that produced Neo,
That was one of my favorite geckos of all time.
Yeah. So that was, well, he came from, his dad was from Avalon. He was at Phantom. And I bred him to a red. I wanted to make red pins like that. And so, yeah, I got Phantoms out of that.
Wow. Because Neo was like lavender, right?
Yeah.
Like
lavender, and then he'd fire up dark.
Black.
But yeah, he was the son of the male, the full pin that I got from Allen. And yeah, he was het.
Wow. Do you still have Neo, or is he gone?
Yeah, they're all in there. Yeah, very few of them die. It's really weird.
That's crazy.
I mean,
older than all our kids.
20 years old. Like these guys, and they're not like, yeah, I don't know. It's just strange.
They still breed, or do they just go to kind of like a graveyard of the past?
Oh, yeah, there's not that many. We're actually, this is funny, like, I said at some point, I'm going to have to sell old breeders. You cannot keep them all forever. But I never did. I never started. And now finally this year, I'm like, all right, now I'm either looking at getting another building, or I need to maybe think about selling off. And I'm not going to sell off my original stuff, but like kind of the in-between, and like Area 51, where I was just putting stuff together. Really didn't.
Yeah.
Other than you
got to call it the geriatric collection.
Oh, I know.
Eventually, you'll have to taxidermy some of your cresteds.
Oh, God. He's going to have a man cave with a bunch of taxidermied crested.
Oh, I don't do that.
That'd be amazing.
No.
Oh, that'd be creepy.
So Anthony, when you're looking through your massive collection, are you constantly looking for different morphs to, things that look different, and you pull those out? Like, how does that work for you?
But it's different, because you can't, like, you see different all the time. It has to be kind of an educated guess. You have to look at, okay, what have I seen here before? What have I not?
Okay.
Now, if I've not seen it before, what do I think? There's one thing like a gene causing it, or do I think, is this basically a combination of something that I've never done before? And Pixel's a really good example.
Yeah, tell us about Pixels.
That one, I noticed it. I didn't like it. It was on planar geckos. They just put little dots along the inside edge of the dorsal and speckled the sides a little bit, but there wasn't much there to be speckled anyway, so there just wasn't much to them. But eventually I started seeing that, where I'd see ports of that in other combos. I'd see, creamy back stuff with like little holes eaten in it, and, the white out the white wall markings would get smashed down and kind of would eat at those. Yeah, it's a good example.
Yeah.
But you start seeing stuff like that, and you're like, okay, this is probably not a combo of a combo at this point. You know, it's like, but you know, that word polygenic gets tossed around, and that's usually just jargon for combo. We don't know how to explain.
Yeah, I don't understand. Polygenic.
Polygenic means, yeah, mystery combo. But yeah, it's like, I mean, that gecko right there, I wouldn't know what that was unless I had seen pixel on a creepy dorsal before I saw it all in what looks
With
like
white wall and
7 level being dip looking thing.
So when did you start
Yeah, that was seen in all kinds of combos, and now it's like, it's kind of weird. Some of these, they don't really look the same. You know what they are because you've done it enough.
Seen it. Yeah.
You've seen it, you see what comes out. Yeah, that's what I think is probably the super. Now, we have some super clean ones like that, real solid dorsal on that stripe down the middle of the back, too.
Yeah.
And is that the one?
I don't know.
Me sure.
You would know. Is it possible to have different variations of pixels?
Oh yeah.
No, meaning.
I think there are. I think there's probably multiple genes being called pixel.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you that, Anthony, because I'm in the Pixel Facebook group that you're in.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
There's another one over there that I think is different than mine.
so I was going to ask you that. I've been talking with Harry about this, and I look at that group, and I'm just thinking, I think there's at least two genes in this group, maybe 3. Different things people are all identifying as pixel, and especially when I see people saying, "Oh, I'm like sure it's recessive." And then I've heard your argument for at least your own collection for it not being recessive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's somebody else on that pixel group that actually does have what looks to be my line. And they bred one of those to basically a lab, and it looked like Neo. We were just talking about it.
Yeah.
Like him. I'm not saying it was. That's basically nothing like a pixel. So unless that gecko's hat came from a different together, this one's probably a complete dominant, I would think.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't have tried to pair all this stuff up. A lot of these geckos are going for mixed pairings. I don't really do a lot of line breeding. I try to cross lines while keeping the appearance. I like the same. You know what I'm saying? So like, back there when I'm looking for white walls, I'd pair up whiteouts, maybe 2
different groups.
Yeah. So even within that group, Anthony, a lot of people will ask, like, is this a pixel? Is this a pixel? And then either you or Serena or some others will be like, I don't think that's a pixel. Like, for people that are newer, like, what are some identifying markers?
Surprised that goes as smoothly as it does. Okay, so like this is a good one right here. This was
this is the one I got from you.
Yeah. And you can see like the little holes in the back. And you can see where it's trying to eat into the white walls to kind of keep pointing at it. Like you guys can see what I'm saying.
Yeah,
but,
I'll point for you here.
Even the fringe, look at the fringe on her hind legs is kind of chewed up.
Right here.
Interesting.
Even that fringe wraps around her.
Yeah. Does the tail have anything to do with it? I've seen some pixel tails.
Yeah, look at and they get kind of, well, you can see a little bit of modeling in this one. This gecko should be like covered in cream, so it's kind of hard to tell. Yeah, this is a better angle there, that back. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, look at that. Look at that leg on her right.
Oh, right here. Yeah.
That's pretty. See how it's eating? It's like eating away at that, almost in the shape, like in a circular.
Yeah, got it. I see. Yeah, right here.
So would you say
only thing on earth that can do that, but that's one of the ways. I mean, if you're breeding pixels and you're having trouble picking a baby, that's one thing I'm looking for. And you can see them along the edge of her, like on the inside edge of her dorsal. Okay. You can see, kind of right here. Yeah, no, on the dorsal up high.
The inside edge.
Yeah, I see it right here.
Yeah, there's more. Yeah, and it's more along that inner edge, not so much right in the middle of the dorsal. And if you go back to some of the babies, they have that too. But yeah, that one was, I couldn't believe these. We hit this one last year. I'm like, no way. I'm like, there's something else here. And then we hit 2 more in March. As soon as those eggs started hatching, I'm like, okay. So that was real. I thought I was like, either Lily got into something, like something happened. Well, check the group.
So it's kind of eating through some of the leg.
Yeah, and you can, that gecko right there, if you look at the above the white walls on that one,
yeah, right here.
Look at all that. There's like little things on the white wall top of it, and it kind of has that textbook pixel looking stuff going up above the harlequin where it's all fragmented. That thing's.
So it's more of a pattern disruptor, pattern
for sure.
Than
exactly. Okay. Yeah, it's kind of a reductive thing because, yeah, that's what I was trying to explain that to somebody. I'm like, you know, I think a lot of people, it makes total sense because we have no normal. We have 10 different normals or whatever, you know, you could think of to breed this thing into. You got to try and decipher all of them before you release it. If you're me, anyway. But the, I can hear myself. Somebody's computer. But yeah, it can't eat away at pattern it had. So if it doesn't have extreme harlequin markings, you're not going to have.
You're not going to see it. I see.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you want some strong patterning for it too.
Like, yeah, I mean that's what I'm looking for. I mean, I think we got a span going. Oh, I need to dig up this picture.
Oh yeah, but it was to see
phantom that had these little dot things going on. I couldn't figure out what it was, and now I'm thinking back. I'm like, but that happened too. We'll hit a combo, and I haven't seen it before, and it's so weird. It's just like, no, it can't be that. Yeah.
Have you thrown Pixel to Lily White yet?
Not yet. I'm not trying to mag on Lily White. I have like 100 of them, but we've had trouble in my facility getting them to grow it. I think it might be because we let it get too hot at times. And I try not to, but I mean, when you got 5 mini splits in a big metal warehouse, sometimes hot days happen. And I mean, never bad enough to hurt anything else. Other geckos do fine. They actually grow really fast. Man, I would say under our conditions, the lilies we have, they're growing at like maybe half the rate of the others. Wow. So I mean, like anything super valuable or we're limited in numbers that I don't have a lot of. I'm waiting putting lily because it's going to take so long.
Yeah, I see.
I don't know. I want to try them in a cooler room before I decide not to work with them, but the worst working with them, I think it's something we're doing.
Are your lilies all originating from like pretty close to the import from Lily Exotics? Like, did you buy animals direct from them?
I only bought 2. I got them from, he's going to kill me. Hector. You know that
Virginia Gecko?
No, yes.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I got a couple from him. And then Basca sent me 2 males that I'm breeding that are his.
Okay.
I'm not real sure how close to the source either one of those guys were. I wouldn't think too close, but I don't know. I don't think it's
the only reason. The reason I'd ask is, so I bought some direct from Lily Exotics, and the first generation of offspring were not as strong as I would have liked. And then once you raised holdbacks out of those and bred them, a lot of those issues went away. So I don't know if it was incubation on Lily Exotics front, where, I don't know, a lot of those original males that came in, they wouldn't go over 30 to 35 grams. Like, they're small.
That's a baby for me.
Yeah, they were small. Like, we couldn't get them much bigger, at least the first ones that came in. And then the next gen that popped out, they were normal.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know what it was.
Yeah, so what's I was looking up on them, man, it's like, yeah, I'm not going to plug anything crazy nice into that until I knew what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But that's the thing about them, too, is like, I mean, as far as genes go, if I'm just going strictly on looks, that's my favorite gene. Period.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Oh, yeah, the way they gain white as they get bigger. I mean, because when that came out, I was just figuring out white wall, like how I can produce them consistently, and I do produce them consistently. And then Lily White comes out, and I'm like, are you kidding? Like,
it's a straight up cheat code.
Yeah, you can do 2 times as much white with half the gene copies. This is peanuts. Quit. And then,
Resurrect it, man. It's still popular. The white white spots.
White out. Yeah, no, that's a staple. I'm using it instead of Lily in a lot of stuff. And I mean, it's not a replacement by any means, but you get overall look. You know, I mean, some of these phantoms that are just white wall, not fully coated in white on the sides, that's really cool too. That's one funny thing. I have some of my phantom white walls that have more white on their sides than a lot of phantom lilies do. I don't know what. Yeah, the phantom lilies, the white wall kind of low on them.
Yes.
Low line, like the low line, yeah.
Yeah. And then for whatever reason, I'm popping out some of these yellow ones that I'm getting, because most of my red phantoms, like if they have white wall, it's blobs, it's holes. But or super white out, basically what that is. But the yellow stuff, I have some that are coming out just like painted down the sides. And they're cool. I mean, they probably have more white on the sides than a lot of my lily phantoms.
Yeah. Phantom lilies are some of my favorite stuff right now. I think that there's a lot that can be done with them.
Totally. And that's like another, well, think about any kind of lily where it's just coated on the sides with white, and then if you can delete that dorsal.
It gives more room to play too.
Right. So like a super empty or a phantom. Well, the phantom, you get those low white walls, but I'm hoping with like a super empty lily, you can keep the white wall, keep all that stuff that's coming up the sides, like a lot of lily too, and then have like that streak taken out of the back. Where we could get, so you could basically have a mostly white gecko with like a red or a yellow or black streak, you know, that fully on the dorsal.
Have you seen or have you made super empty lilies yet?
No.
Wow.
Made empty. Made the hat empty.
Yeah, I have hats, and they're almost indistinguishable. I mean, unless you knew.
Got a lot of cream still, right?
Yeah, I mean, they'll have like a kind of dashed line, but it's not. I mean, you would never know if you didn't do the pairing.
Any cream back. It doesn't even have to be a lily. Any of these creamy backs. If somebody goes, can you guys go to my website? Look at. Was it my website? Where were you guys? Was it Insta? Where you had it was Instagram. I just posted her, the orange-headed one. Yeah. She's got that empty back that comes to the point at the neck.
Yeah, where they V at the neck.
Yeah, that's like a creamy back with super super empty back.
Okay, so it seems like that cream is pretty dominant, huh?
Yes, very.
So
that
maybe you can push it out.
See that creamy gecko right in the middle?
This one?
Yeah. That's, I don't think super, right? That's the hat.
That's a hat.
Tiger is playing. Everything cleans with it. Yeah, so it's like super variable, but at the same time, I mean, it knocks that pattern out. When you get the supers like that, but that dark one with the orange head, because that's exactly what I expect. Lily.
The one up top.
Is that?
I grew up. I think it was the most that one there.
Oh no! Scroll down. It was just a single image of her. Keep going. I'll find her. There. Yep.
Oh, that one.
Yep. Back up.
Higher hair.
There we go. On the left. There we go.
So that's what you would say is, I mean, you can see kind of at the neck that is like a cream pattern animal.
Yeah.
That also has super.
Yeah, and it's got that other gene. I think that's a gene too, causing that head to be orange like that.
The pumpkin heads.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Hold on. Alexa's telling me to go to bed.
In no worries. Alexa's chatting with
Oh, that's funny.
time for bed.
Good. Amazon's telling him it's time to go to bed.
It's time to go to bed. Remember to drink a glass.
Yeah, it's like
Brush your teeth.
Alexa.
So what's your view, Anthony, on super stripe and the interaction? Is it just a phenotype difference, or would you say it's a recessive trait that is interacting?
No, I think there's something, just some types, these really creamy dorsals. I mean, if you go look at there's a lily that customer Josh Duff hatched on my Instagram. It's just a super empty, or not a super empty back. It's an empty back lily, but a little bit of figure down the dorsal. Well, even this one right here on the bottom left, right, that gecko, you can see it there where that's where the empty starts. It's kind of in the middle there. So my theory is, and it's just a certain type of really striped out, you get quad stripe. Well, I guess you get it out the lateral, but just these really stripy animals with a creamy dorsal, and then one or two copies of empty back, and I think you get a super stripe, basically. But I think what I call the super stripe, how I came up with that term was, or I copied it from basically a quad stripe, and then you add that down the middle.
Yeah, I remember that. It was about having that additional stripe down the back.
Yeah, that's got to be, because we never did. I mean, we were never able to like pop those out next generation. It was like you'd get some kind of like it. But I'm all but positive that's just a particular combo, basically, of empty back. Probably something to do with bloodline too, I would imagine. You notice, like, when it has like heavy lateral striping, you'll get a lot of other pattern elements will be stripy looking too. I mean, the laterals will do it. You'll get some even on the inside of the pinning. But I just think some of this striping that we're seeing might be heritable, like the lateral striping and stuff like that. I don't think that's like on-off genes. I think there's things like that, and we just, whatever they are, traits, genes, whatever you want to consider, like lateral striping, foreholes, things like that, just kind of part of the normal. I don't know how you put that, but basically part of the wild phenotype, I guess, where I don't know how much striping was really coming out of those imports, though, that elements were in. I know, like, the portholes have been there, but anyway, I think with the super stripe, you're combining a quad and an empty back. Probably it has to have a dorsal too.
Yeah, and a lot of quad stripes lack most tiger. They don't have a lot of tiger in them.
Oh, no.
So that's what's giving you that linear pattern without much wave or disruption.
Yeah, the tiger stuff you've got.
Yeah.
Craziness going on.
So maybe, with super stripes, also in the back, you're not having the interaction of tiger that would also disturb that line.
Exactly.
Or as, minimal tigering.
Yeah. Yeah, tiger, man, it really does. A lot.
So if you have empty back or super stripe, usually it's a full pin because the tigering doesn't break up the pin.
Not always.
Yeah, I mean those ones I did, the original ones were like lavender, kind of neo stripes stuff. But yeah, I started putting that in. Anything yellow, man, it's trickier. Some of those tigery animals kind of tend to allow it, I guess you'd say, allow it to be there, and then some of them really mess with it. Like you'll have lateral, what would have been lateral striping, and it has stuff going through it.
Yeah. I have a quick insert question for you, Anthony. You mentioned Vasquez, Lil Monsters, right? What do you think about the foundation genetics that Anthony and Jess has put together? Has it been helpful for the community? Have you contributed to it? What are your thoughts on?
Yeah, I mean, I gave them some feedback on stuff I was working with. I think a lot of it, I mean, a lot of this stuff is things we've all talked about, for years. And then some of it might be newer info. I haven't read everything on it. But yeah, I mean, as far as the hobby goes, you couldn't even talk about genes 5-10 years. Maybe 10 years ago. Most people, and people tell you they understand it, and then they start talking.
We don't really know.
Not really. Now I heard, like, what was it? Somebody was talking about soft scale, and they said, "Oh, I didn't see if I could stack it and see how far I can take it." It's like, dude, it's 2 gene copies. That's all you get. That's all you get to play with.
2 and done.
Yeah, you don't get to add 2 little letters on the end of it. But yeah, it just but
yeah, got it.
So generally, you're a fan of kind of where things have gone as far as the genetic discussion.
Yeah, man. I mean, as far as that stuff goes, but I mean, genetically speaking, I mean, I've been, like, as far as genetics wise, I've been into this for a long time, longer than most people wanted to talk about it, and it just, I think it confuses people, but you got to talk about it. It's kind of one of those, like, you can't ignore it. You can't ignore genetics. You can't not talk about them just because people are going to butcher it. But yeah, I mean, you kind of got to have something like that. I think maybe in ball pythons, you didn't necessarily, I mean, the world of ball pythons is there, and that helped a lot of people too. And I think that might be something to think about for us, is like trying. But even in the world of ball pythons, with all the genes, you still have.
They're learning stuff all the time still.
Yeah, and
I mean, even that DG stuff, like a month ago.
What's that?
Even that Desert Ghost stuff, like a month ago, figuring out that there's different genes in play or whatever. And
I spent like an hour about that on the club. Like,
but I mean, they're still. I mean, with ball python, I mean, they learn stuff all the time.
You have 3 genes.
So which one do you have?
Yeah. Luckily, visual stuff. We got into Desert Ghost, and I'm mad. Ooh, I was having trouble breathing head to head, and then I found out why. But yeah,
so did you get yours tested or not?
Oh yeah. He's tested. Jake's get everything tested. I think we're already close to 10 grand. I think on testing this year. If I recall. But yeah, the Desert Ghost stuff, crazy. We bought all the visual stuff in the beginning, and then like last year, probably the wrong, but we bought we had a Crown Desert Ghost, Pride Desert Ghost. Yeah. What was that? I don't know. We called one on top. We wanted a Clown Desert Ghost and not find another snake too. But yeah, that one, that's freaky. But we have tons of stuff. I don't know. We've never had bad luck with them. So
that's good.
Yeah, we'll be.
Yeah. So wrapping up on EB, I want to ask you, I guess, what are things that you're empty back? What are things that you're excited to do with them? You think kind of are combos that will be interesting, or where you kind of think that's going?
Oh, probably like what we were talking about before with like Lily. I think would be huge. And I, you know,
Okay.
on that, but that's actually a really exciting one. I don't love it on Phantom. I think it might help us in Phantoms, but I think it's kind of
It's hard to identify. I've made super EB Phantoms, and it's pretty minimal. So
line. If you get those ones where the Phantom would have had a creepy dorsal, and you get that.
Yeah, like the V at the neck or whatever.
Yeah, if you get that type of dorsal in your Phantoms, which who the hell knows what dorsal you have in your Phantoms, so you breed it to an empty back. But yeah, like that. I mean, those are okay, and we're gonna have them just because we have them. But really, the lilies, and then like just full blown white ones. I think just really nice white walls, blank empty back, bright red, jet black, yellow gecko, whatever. Did you see the tigery one that's all just crazy hairy structure? I think it's on you. That
website?
I mean, that thing, if I could make 1,000 of those, I would do it.
On Instagram or website?
I think it's on Instagram, yeah, just recently, but it's yeah, like yellow or orange. Go down. Yeah. Little clone. Seems like it. Oh, that's too far. Yeah, that's too far.
Okay.
Man, I don't know. I thought I posted that on here. Man. Real hairy looking.
Maybe it's your website, huh?
Yeah, I think
it might be on the website, actually.
The lily white combo, I think, is gonna be it's gonna be really interesting. I'm surprised there isn't one yet.
No, but if you can get, I mean, think about like a good lily with just tons of white, mostly white on the sides, and then if you can delete
empty the dorsal,
especially if that bright red, like that bright red empty back, that super empty I have.
Do you think that
you have to
back strong enough to do it, to push out all the white?
Yeah, I think it'll be like that orange-headed one we looked at, pumpkin head. I think it'll be like that. You'll get that nice defined point. Ow, where is this? Let me find this Geckos and bird.
So, so UJ, you don't have you have empty back lilies, but they're head empty back lilies.
Yeah,
is that right?
Yeah, but I have some that are almost breedable right now, and then
okay,
all of those are also soft scale, and I have super soft, super empty backs. I'll breed back and try to hit the super soft, super EB lily. Yeah, I'll see if I hit it.
And that, I think that's gonna be awesome. Man, here. Anyway. There she is.
Because when I breed them back, when I breed the lilies back, I'll make sure that I use super empty, super softs.
To make sure that
more
of the babies are
super soft on the super empty, they get pretty weird.
Okay.
They get super weird.
Yeah. Like you get some, looks like some scale to maybe not there.
Yeah, those are the craziest ones I've seen, is the empty back end.
Yeah, there's a good green one. Wish I could find a better picture. This is like a crappy.
No worries.
So,
I could try to pull it if you know where it's at.
Now this is bad. I'm just gonna drop 3 images of her. But I'm not.
You're just posting right now, live post.
Yeah, posting it with no text.
Dang. New content drop.
right here.
So that thing,
That's funny.
That's one way to do it.
that is one way to get pictures up on the screen.
Is it this one?
That one.
Wow, there it is.
Here live.
That's cool.
So, yeah, that's pretty hairy.
Yeah, the hairy structure, I can see it for sure. The thinner crest.
That's a dinky little, I mean, that's like a 6 or 7 gram gecko. That's like, it didn't look like that.
It looks like a bobblehead.
Yeah. You can tell it dropped that tail very young too, because it's got a stinger.
Yeah.
They do some. Yeah, I had a male one.
Yeah, like long. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like you got a
Flop underneath it.
They grow like a quarter of a tailback.
Yeah,
That's
I know. That's what I don't remember if it was in my FAQ. I think I was just being a jackass, but I put like, is it true? Like a myth, crested geckos don't regrow their tails. But actually, they do.
just only about this long.
Yeah, it's just comes back much shorter. Than
Well, Anthony, you've been breeding geckos for a long time, longer than some people have been alive in the in the hobby, the young folks, that is. Does the hobby still excite you as much as it did when you first started? Or are you pretty tired?
No, I mean, it's different for sure. I mean, you do anything that much. Definitely glad I'd rather be doing geckos than working.
That's awesome. Yeah.
For sure. But yeah, I mean, it's funny. I don't get excited going and buying a gecko now. It's more about like seeing what I can do with it, like each successive generation. So bringing in something new and like starting a new project sounds more like work to me. And it's like, I'm almost to the point where you almost have to like sell me on not just the project, but the idea of doing it.
Yeah, I see.
Like the cappuccino, I didn't know. I'm going to get some of those. I don't think they're that bad. And I won't try to make the sleepers. But like that was one that worried me because I didn't know where they came from. And I knew they were coming out of Korea, and I knew it looked like my hairy stuff, but the structure was not what I'm seeing. So I was like, something's up. I thought it was the gene. Turns out they came out of John Banks. They came out.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like John Banks. And so I know, because I have some now that I've had from the beginning. I just, we'll blend it together. Fine.
So your collection is more or less like a closed collection.
It is. Okay. Oh yeah, I mean, those 4 lilies, the 2 from Hector and the 2 that are Anthony's, are the first 4 geckos to come in since 2007.
Holy smokes!
I got a wild male in 2007, and other than that, I think the last things I got from Alan were like 05, maybe 06.
Wow. That's incredible that you haven't brought anything into your own collection.
No.
Is that mainly a biosecurity measure?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you see what happened to all the carpet python breeders?
Yeah.
Wow.
And chondra. I mean, I think that's happened.
Yeah, the Nido stuff.
Mm-hmm. Wow, so that's the funny thing. Nobody has great luck with carpet pythons, but as soon as I wasn't breeding in another room, basically, and I put them in where the crested geckos are with the giant swath cooler and 70 humidity. Carpets are bulletproof. They do great. Yeah.
Because everybody was keeping them in ball python rooms before.
Oh, put them in, like, some of these carpet guys recommended a 18-inch tall cage, which with a crested gecko is one thing because you're not blasting it with heat. You do that in a snake cage, you better know what you're doing for humidity, because an 18-inch tall cage kept at 90 degrees or 85 degrees or whatever is going to be dry, like dry.
Yeah.
And I think that was a lot. But yeah, we keep, I've got left stays in racks. They're big racks though, and they're taller than breeders.
Yeah.
They do really well.
For the cresteds, then, I mean, you have no interest, besides you mentioned cappuccino, but sable, exantics.
I'm not ruling anything out at this point. Exanthic, I'm a little bit, have they, I should ask before I can say this, has anybody produced yellow ones, red ones?
Exantics?
There's one in Korea that they claim is like, it might be like kind of chimera plus exanthic, where they've got some like red bleed through, but the rest of them are all gray or black and white.
Yeah,
so
I asked them.
Basically is it linked to the base color? If you can't get a tiger exanthic, then that would mean, you know what I'm saying?
You can't get tiger.
You can?
Tiger. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen one. Here's the red one. Here's the maybe it's like
this is the only like color.
Wondering at these is is this the entire base color linked to this gene?
Yeah, we don't know.
It seems like the entire animal's color is linked to it, but
right. So if you can't get like a yellow gecko with white markings, or and see, this is a black base. Now that's freaky. What is that?
That's what they claim is like a blood exanthic is what they call it. This is the only one that seems to kind of look like that.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, I mean, we get crazy looking stuff sometimes that just because I know my stuff, I look at it, I'm like,
So yeah, most of this stuff is just, it has no yellow on it. It's just black base and white. So like no matter what color the animal is, so say you breed two yellow 100% hets together,
you're gonna get a black base animal, aren't you?
They're not black, they're like light gray.
Well, but a dark base.
Dark, yeah.
You're not getting that tail. Okay, so it is linked. That's what I've been wondering. It's basically, it sounds to me like it's a genetic base color, basically. Because I breed, let's say if I breed two of my reds together, like pretty much any of my red pinstripes, like white wall, whatever. About a quarter of those babies are going to come out black.
Yeah. So that's the wild type base is black base.
Right. So that's what I'm wondering though. Like, is this axanthic? Is it really?
Yeah.
Is it a different mutation of that? And I could totally see it being that. Man,
The thing that does the white is very unique. I mean, it can take animals
with the white markings.
Yeah, can you just pull up like Infinity Gecko or somebody in Korea that's got a million of them.
Okay, exotics, you mean?
Yeah.
I think I need Korean water here.
Yeah, you don't want to drink that.
Get them geckos. My best friend's actually from Korea. And he'll agree with you. Man, those are good.
Yeah. This is crazy.
What are we looking at here?
So these are exanthic lilies. So normal exanthics, it's hard to get as much white on one as once you add the lily, obviously.
Yeah.
So those look like heady bees to me too.
He's got your stuff.
Look like what?
They look like head empty backs as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you can, at least these are.
Yeah.
Well, I can see, look how and not only in the dorsal, but look up by the head, that margin.
Yep.
That's all I was after when I figured that out. Like
that head, like kind of that like head stamp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see the kind of the
Where it
pinstripe
does
is
that there.
one will continue on it. That's all I was going for. I noticed it. The cage label, just because you got 3 characters. I put P, the number 2, and then the letter H. So pin to it.
Yeah. So it was about fringing. You were going for fringe.
It didn't work. I mean, it didn't work on most anything, and it was all the different dorsal patterns. If I stuck with like hairy looking stuff where there was a considerable difference in the pinstripe color and the rest of the head or the dorsal, it worked really well. But on the creamy stuff, you ended up more like this, and I could see it. I just didn't think it was going to be that important. And then, lo and behold, you put another copy of it, it starts opening that dorsal up more.
Yeah.
That's freaking cool, though.
Yeah, that's cool.
See, and I was the xanthics. That's how we Python say it. I don't know. I'm pronouncing it the way most gecko people do. But what I've never liked about them, I've never in ball python. I've never liked that top layer of skin as they get older. That top layer of skin will collect
melanin, they'll get brown.
Melanins. Yeah, exactly. Brown, dirty crap. And that's not,
It doesn't seem like crustaceans do that.
Black and gray. And that's what I was wondering, waiting to see. It does look like it's linked to the base color, like it is its own kind of base color. So it may be a mutated version of it. I don't know. Those are cool, though, those lilies. I wonder... See, have you seen the paper white stuff that I have that I'm really not talking much about?
No.
Is it time for another Instagram post?
Yeah, no, I mean, there's probably, I'm like, the one from Gecko Harmony on Instagram.
Oh, yeah. The pixel.
Oh, the pixel, yeah.
Yeah. That's
this one. This one, a paper white G.
Your
pixel.
Yeah. That gene, when you don't have, there's something with all this, like causing, I think it's tangerine in there causing like the tails pink. But that gene on its own, they are really clean. And then it's looking like, can't really tell them apart when they're little. Looks like there's a super though, because some of them, as they age, like they're white, they're still white. It's not cream, but then some of them are just like completely, like blindingly, like white, like paper.
So you say that's a separate gene. Paper white is separate from white wall, white out.
Yeah, it's separate from those, but it's kind of I guess you could say like pixel reductive, but it's not eating away at the pattern. It's actually stripping away some of the color. One place I've noticed it works really cool is with tangerine, because instead of an orange color, you end up with pink, like pink. Trying to think of enough good example that we can find.
Yeah, this one is cool. I like this one a lot.
Got a bunch of reds with it. I just scrolled down and found that's the one back, but he's got tangerine. With the paper white, it just seems to affect the white marking. So like the rest of your gecko really doesn't seem to be affected by that color. So you can have whatever base color you want, even yellow. Okay. But again, like pixel, it can't do anything with the pattern that isn't already there. So
you need pattern to be able to.
Yeah, like I got them in phantoms where there's hardly any white to speak of. You got these little electric white squiggles for laterals.
What's your take on pixel moving forward? Are you pretty excited about working more stuff into it? What do you feel like the community is gonna get excited for when it comes to pixels moving forward?
Oh, I think
the white walls.
Yeah, we're looking at
Yeah.
The really crazy shattered looking extreme Harlequin. I've been down a lot with extreme Harlequin and mowing. I think that's going to be hot.
Yeah, we'll try it. Yeah, we'll work with it.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested. Empty back a little bit because it's kind of eating away at the same part of the pattern that pixel does, but, you know, as far as the dorsal goes, but where empty back could be different or helpful even is to help define that pinstripe pattern. But I don't know what that's going to mean for what's left of the dorsal if the pixel's very obvious. But I mean, if we get laterals like we saw in that last one, I mean, who cares?
Yeah, that's super cool.
But I do think Lily pixel is going to be
pretty cool
in demand. I mean, I think that's probably going to be.
Yeah, we'll try to pair a couple up this coming season. So absolutely. You have any future secret morphs? Because we have a ton of stuff that popped out from your collection, Anthony. What kind of magical stuff can you tell us? Either on the live or on behind closed doors.
Oh yeah, I showed you guys something behind closed doors.
Okay, cool.
But I did. I mean, but yeah, that one's probably not going to see the light of day.
Yeah.
But yeah, that stuff's like all the time. I mean, it's just, you know, I think we're odds of hitting albinos like 1 in 20,000 animals, which I'm overdue. The odds of only some albinos.
Yes, it is soon. Don't worry.
But I mean, just now imagine how many other pattern and color mutations exist or can exist within the genome. And, you know, I mean, we're to 20,000 a year or whatever we're doing. We should be seeing some stuff. Now, whether I can pick up on it or not right away is another story. Usually, by the time I figure it out, 5 other people have it. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, we ain't stuff for sure. You know, I mean, I showed you guys that one thing, which I don't even know what it does yet. It just looks weird. Wow, I haven't seen enough of it to really put my finger on what it does. Yeah. But that's the hardest thing. We don't have it. We don't even, I mean, a lot of these things we have, we don't really know, you know, one type or the next. They both might look really creamy to us, but then we find out there's different things going on with the genes. So anyway, it's just really hard to identify stuff. Yeah. Until I know that I'm looking for it. Then once I start looking for it and start watching those pairings, I can figure it out pretty quick.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. A few more questions for you, Anthony. I know I don't want to hold you too long, but one is about community in terms of, you know, are you pretty, do you keep to yourself a lot? I know a lot of breeders, especially big breeders, kind of keep to themselves a lot. What's your take on the gecko community, the gecko hobby in general? Or you mainly keep to yourself and you just kind of put your head down and do the work? What's kind of your take?
I mean, I used to geek into I was on, back in the day, I was on shows all the time. I mean, yeah, it's the more visible you are, the more people you're going to have. You know?
Yep, for sure. I gotcha.
Yeah, coming at me. But I mean, I try to kind of ride the fence a little bit. I mean, put myself out there somewhat, be accessible to people, but at the same time, you have to kind of keep it all. I think the best advice I ever got was from somebody who was saying basically like the best thing you can do if you don't want to believe all the negative stuff people are saying about you is bear in mind none of these people actually know you. Like none of them.
Yeah.
Even the ones in your butt probably think you're better than you really are. And the ones that are calling you an idiot, you're probably not really an idiot either. But you know what I'm saying? So it's like you can't believe your own BS.
Yeah.
That's the thing. But yeah, just
for sure.
I think the older I've gotten, I don't know how much of it's age and how much of it's experience in this industry, but I'm a lot less impressed with myself than I was 20 years ago when I just I already knew it all.
Yeah.
Because I've done pythons, carpet pythons for 5 years. But yeah, man, I mean, seems like the more I learn, the more I figure out we don't know about these. We probably should. Like, there's some things we don't know. We probably ought to. I think with this genetic testing going so well for ball pythons, I hope those guys will start thinking about it for other stuff. I don't know how hard it would be.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah, that's very cool.
to unpack it. But I mean, how far? We couldn't be too far away from it. Maybe 10 years. I know. Is really the industry. The more people we have talking about that and asking for it, the quicker it'll happen. Right now, I'm really beating the drum. I want them to get a test made monsoon in ball python. That's a lot that needs to be done. But yeah, could you imagine if they could do that with cressids?
If they map the genome of cressids.
Yeah, I mean, I can.
That'd be awesome.
We could send off sheds. I don't know how I'm going to do that either. Now I'm thinking about it. With snakes, they don't
Just
sheds.
the ones that leave a little bit on the end of their tail, just pull that off.
Yeah, I was going to say we had plenty stuck. No kidding. So yeah, wait till August. But yeah, imagine. I mean, that would make everything so much easier. You know, I can take these oddball things and I'm not sure what they are, and I could have it compared against 4 known genes, and then they'll tell me, oh, it's these 2 or whatever.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Because I mean, I did one of the last year I bred ball pythons at my place. I made champagne, hypo, itchy, something or other. They all just look like champagne or something. And it would have, I mean, paid money to get those figured out.
So I have a question for you. You had talked a little bit about, this is kind of the last thing I guess I'll ask you. You had talked a little bit about kind of the challenges of just summer and maybe COVID being over. And I don't know if Korea being flooded plays into it, but just the challenges of moving like large numbers of animals. Is that something where now you're looking to kind of pivot and do more high end and maybe back the wholesale stuff down, or kind of what's your reaction to that, I guess?
To all this, it's been, this is totally cyclical, the whole hog. But I mean, the wholesale side of it, very much so, because what happens is nobody's ever happy leaving anything alone for any length of time. Doesn't matter what you're talking about. But it's the PetSmart, Petco, all that, you know, if they're not seeing growth or whatever, then they feel like they're missing out. I don't know what it is, but there's always a change. It's always, we need more until it blows up in their face. And then the breeders get stuck sitting on the stuff. So it's, but you have it happen about every 6 or 7 years. I mean, like clockwork since I've been doing this.
Yeah.
And the last time was 2016. I think I dumped 1,000 geckos, $12 each, and hated every minute of it. I pissed off the weekend shift of it. I hated it.
$12.
Then the next year they were already back to like $20. There was only 1,000 geckos. I did that.
Yeah.
But then the next year we started seeing the price inch back up. The year after that, they're up higher than they've ever been. And like, oh, that's interesting. And by 2019, 2020, I mean,
you couldn't keep a single gecko in stock.
No, they were like, the prices were insane. And so when that happened, I told the people, big buyers I do, I'm like, this, you guys get those crazy prices now. That's fine. Because they, like, some of them were telling me they would pay more to get one. And yeah, I mean, it was like a frenzy. So anytime you see that, you can guarantee there's one of these years coming, either next year or the year after, every single time it gets like that. So anyway, yeah, I mean, this doesn't really worry me. The retail does so well anyway, like selling individuals. It doesn't take very many of those to make up for the lower prices on 100.
Yeah. So in past years, when wholesale was just flying off the shelves, did you feel less inclined to be pulling and individually taking photos of animals?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Is it just like, I don't have time for that?
It depends on what you're like how big the numbers are or whatever. But yeah, if I can use money to keep from having to sell the nicer stuff that I wanted to hold on to that I'd already used out. But a lot of it was also the mass, because other than the past few years, we've always been pretty heavy on retail. But then the other part of it was me staying home half the time with my son. But I only wanted to do that, until he starts kindergarten, which is about a year away now. So, year and a half. But I'm getting back on it now. There's some cool teams out there. Cool teams in my collection that I want to get to play with. So, yeah, to answer your question, though, I'm kind of not pivoting away from the wholesale, but I'm definitely not like going to keep adding numbers for sake of getting bigger. I'm going to start moving out some of the old geckos. I figured out the older, like 10, 15-year-old stuff, they're probably about half as productive as younger ones. So I think we can cut back on some of these numbers that way, just get rid of some of that old stuff.
Kind of keep a tighter cycle on how long you keep them.
Exactly. I think 5 to 7 years probably a good target.
Yeah.
But
and as we kind of like wind down, I know we've been winding down for a little while, but it's awesome talking to you. You have wealth of knowledge.
Yeah, thank you.
I like it.
As we kind of do this outro, we ask all our guests advice for new breeders. A lot of people are coming in. Some people stepping out, but a lot of people are actually coming in. A lot of new breeders find our podcast, and we hear from a lot of new breeders. What is advice from you to them about how to get into the hobby, what to look for, how to be, successful, I guess, in the hobby? What are your?
I think
what's your advice?
The biggest thing I would tell somebody, if they're really like seriously thinking about doing it, even for a living, but even if you were just doing it as a side hustle, whatever, hobby. But do your own thing. Don't try and I see these people that they see a gecko somebody produced, a xanthic lily or whatever, and that becomes their goal. And they get fixated on that. But by the time you get to producing that, you're going to be sick of seeing it. You're going to be looking at
that is true.
That with a super empty back and so many other things. I see it with ball pythons too. So my thing is do you, but find out, do something that's unique that you can do maybe a little bit differently. Something that really holds your interest. Don't try to ask people what's hot. What's hot's now doesn't have anything to do with what's going to be hot in 2 years when you're actually.
What's hot is your pixels. So go buy Anthony's pixels.
But it's but yeah, take the pixel and go your own way with it. You know what I'm saying? That's it. I see a lot of that. I see a lot of people trying to do somebody else better than somebody else does themselves. It's you're never gonna.
We call that morph chasing.
Yeah.
It's just what's the hot thing? I just have to do that.
Yeah, and then I'll be happy. It's if you're into watches, it's the same thing. There's that grail watch you want, so you get it. And there's a new grail watch.
Yeah.
That you have. But with the geckos, that's it. Don't look at it like you're chasing, because you're going to be chasing a moving target. Never going to.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So you've got to pick your projects based on what you're going to want to look at years and years and years down the road. And don't go crazy. I see a lot of people, especially starting out, they want adults so they can get to breeding them right away. And
right.
Yeah, but you've got good amount of money to plug in, and you could do it. But if you're 24 and starting out with a budget, I'd probably start raising your own babies.
Yeah.
That, and buy the best stuff you can get, and give yourself, if it's. People get tempted into doing short-term stuff and they kind of miss the boat on the long-term. And it's if I can wait a year to start breeding, but I can start really nice babies that cost maybe what the adults I was looking at would cost, or something to that effect, or just nicer adults even. But whatever it is, you're never going to be sorry that you started with fewer, nicer animals.
Yeah, got it.
They all multiply. It doesn't matter if you start with 2 or 4. You're going to have you know,
20
you're
or
gonna yeah. So it's like I would spend my money on quality.
Yep. Get some better.
And figure out my own projects that I really, really like.
Yeah.
And some of them weird. Some projects I've gotten into thought I really liked them, and then they don't go where you think.
You'd abandon that project after like 10 grand, 20 grand. Yeah. So Anthony, where can we find you? I know we looked at all your stuff, but any plugs for you? Where do you want to?
Yeah, the website, acreptiles.com, and Facebook, Instagram. I haven't been on social media much the last few years, but I'm getting back into it.
That's good, man. You got your Facebook, AC Reptiles. Give him a follow. We have his Instagram. Anthony stuff.
Yeah, that's my second Facebook page. Somebody turned me in for selling geckos on Facebook.
Oh yeah. So they backed up.
He had like 30,000 followers or something.
Oh no. So now you're down to only 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all right. I only have 100, so I don't even.
Yeah, they didn't like those auctions.
oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That pissed some people off.
Yeah.
Cool.
Awesome.
The idea behind it was like get rid of the stuff we overproduce, like just, and you never overproduce anything super duper hot. It's always stuff that was super duper hot.
Yes.
Years ago, but it was starting out that was the idea, and then it just spiraled into its own craziness. It was weird though, because there was stuff like we figured out, put animals up and auction them off, and they go way higher than we thought. And I was like, I can't believe anybody even likes these. But one off.
People like the weird stuff.
Yeah,
It
but if
doesn't
I
make
had
any sense.
them, I wouldn't have been able to sell them for $40 a piece. It was the fact that I had one, but
The one-offs, yeah.
yeah.
And for new morphs, but yeah, thank you, Anthony. Appreciate you, brother,
thanks,
for
man,
jumping on. Yes, sacrificing your night to hang out with us, and so
It's all good.
yeah,
But yeah, and shoot me links. When you guys get this all done.
Yep. Send me links, whatever you need. I'll put it in the description. I'll post it on Instagram, and I'll tag you so you can reshare if you'd like. So
Cool.
yeah, awesome, man. Thanks for chatting, Anthony. Appreciate you, brother.
Yep.
All right.
Thanks.
See ya.